All right, folks, and welcome back to another review of Atlanta, episode 7, Trini to the Bone. Terrell and Nigeria here to break this episode down. And beyond the title of this episode, you always got to read what the official synopsis of this episode is. And this one states, white people watching this be like, ... pain. So this is one of those one-off episodes, not focusing on our main cast, but the fact remains the same. In each of these episodes, there is a theme. Terrell, what's your thoughts about the theme of this episode?
Yeah, man, feeling Trini to the bone. This is another lesson to be learned this week, and this lesson happens to be that these our people, different people give themselves differently to other families in different ways. They extend themselves into each other, into different people's lives in different ways. And like I said, we get into the episode, we definitely get into how the character Sylvia managed to infiltrate her way into this white family's home and become a loving staple in that home.
Okay. One thing I thought that's been kind of consistent over the season has been sort of the theme of death. And they explore that somewhat in this episode. But I think the overall theme or message that wants to come from this episode coming from Sir Donald Glover himself, because you have to kind of think that, he's always trying to exploit societal issues. And I think with this one is about something that has been happening for generations, and that's with white people being okay raising black children, or white people being okay with black children being raised in their culture. So to explain that here,
white children being raised in black culture.
Yes, sorry. Okay. Yes, thank you. Get it all confused here. But yet they don't care enough about the culture or the person raising the kid. So we got Sylvia, who's Trinidadian, who is basically being the mom figure in the house for Bash. As soon as they said Bash, I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. Bash is short for Sebastian, also the same name as Sebastian, the son of Wiz Khalifa. So as soon as you said that, I was like, Bash. Okay, let's see where we're going here with that one. But yes, Sylvia being Trinidad, from Trinidad and Tobago, raising Bash, taking him to school, singing him songs, teaching him the culture, giving him the most culture in that Warner family house. Yeah. And this is the thing where it's like white people are okay with black people raising their children, immerse them into the culture, but don't care enough to either know who the person was and or understanding about the culture. Right. And this has been generational. This has been happening for generations, going even back to slavery, if you even want to think about it and whatnot. So, and these caretakers end up becoming more of a parent than the parent themselves. And that's why they were kind of already off to like, on to the next. We want a Chinese woman because we want him to understand Mandarin. But do you actually care who that woman is? Do you actually care about the person that just died and that connection to it? And then like, there was always talking about this is a teachable moment, but like, they weren't actually being considerate to everything about it. And you kind of hear Miss Warner basically like, well, we did enough. We were there for him when we went there, but like, that's not enough because you actually don't know anything about the culture. You didn't learn anything. The first thing you did was came in, you judged them at the funeral, saying they were loud. And I get the whole, like, I don't want him to resent me like how Princess resents her mother, but like still, this little kid Bash is going to respect this culture and these people for his entire life, and you just missed the whole wave. It's fucked up. It's definitely fucked up. So that's kind of my assessment of like what this episode was trying to teach in this episode here. But we can get down into the events of this episode, starting off with Mr. Warner, because I forgot both of their first names. Jogging around the city, listening to trap music. Of course he was. Of course he was. Of course he was. Yes, he was. Yeah, the music they were playing in the beginning, you couldn't quickly see that he had on earpods, but he did. But when he came in the house, he took them off, then the music went off. So yes, he was listening to trap music. And Baby Bash is over there watching The Proud Family. So
I was trying to figure out what that was. Yeah. I was watching The Proud Family.
Yeah. Yeah. But at this time, you know, they're trying to figure out where's Sylvia, and Sylvia had died. And at the same time that she had died, there was a piece of mail coming to the house that was addressed to her, and they were like, return to sender. You know what I mean? We don't know where it came from, but return to sender. And that was that. We established that Sylvia is the caretaker, the sitter, the nanny, whatever you want to call it and whatnot. Right. But at this point now, this is when we start to understand Sylvia's importance into Bash's life, because he's like, listen, she walks me to class, she does this and that. And, you know, Miss Warner has no clue how to be a mother to her own son. You know, doesn't understand the mom dude. She just thinks that I am the mom, so I am doing mom stuff.
Right.
And that's not right, because Bash was calling her out with anything. And even to the part where they got called out about not being at the family picture day. I mean, now that's just completely
like, whoa, we couldn't have been the only parents that weren't there, right? Like come on, don't worry about everybody else, man. Just know you weren't there. You know what I mean?
But you know who was at that picture day?
Our Sunday best.
Yep. And I love the shade in those pictures. That was fantastically done. She was looking like.
Man, I like how they played that up, man. It made it seem like it was gonna be something like super sinister, like the entire episode. And I'm thinking this is about to be like a ghost episode or something like that, or just something weird, because you never know what you're gonna expect from Atlanta, right? And it was really just a funeral, you know what I mean? Just and how this woman has brought this culture into this boy's life, and he knew a lot about her life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where he ain't eating them eggs unless they got some flavor to them, a little spice.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like everybody else was like, "What?" And he said it was too spicy, and I knew that was a lie. It wasn't spicy at all. The little kid eating it, sir, it's not too spicy for you. So
that mango,
which is bomb, by the way. I'll throw some other little funny things. We got to see while Mrs. Warner was in the taxi, she was watching the makeup tutorial video, and this was the peer display of the witchcraft makeup of how one person looks one way and then eventually they look like a completely different person. I was laughing. I mean, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I was like, I see what you did there. So, but at this point now is when the parents are like, listen, we need to break it to Bash about the death. And when they explained to him that this is what happened when you get older, and he's like, well, y'all are older. And then Pops would just this is the issue. Pops didn't even care to try to sympathize for this kid. He felt completely disrespected. He was like, I'm old. All right, tell you what, she's dead. So this is what it is. He got fed up real quickly, and it is what it is. But the little kid, he received a message, and that's where now they have to make a decision as to going about the funeral or whatnot. Also too, this is where they get the other second delivery package, and I believe, don't quote me, but I believe he quoted her, and he said that he could, first of all, Baby Bass corrected it and said Trinidad and Tobago instead of wherever he said, he knows her. He knows like everything about her, and the family don't even know where she's from. I don't know if he said she was from Jamaica or whatever, or did she just say Trinidad and not say Trinidad and Tobago, whatever it was. But Baby Bash made sure he made it very clear. And that's why the package gets redelivered, because it's just like saying, here's another check as to like, you don't even know your own son. He knows more about me than you even know about me. And he knows it. And that makes no sense that he does as a kid knows more. But as they said, they're trying to figure out teachable moments, and hell, teaching him moments, they are the ones that's learning from in these moments and whatnot. I thought it was interesting about the history of the living room. So again, they know all this useless knowledge, but don't even know about the person that was taking care of their kid. This terrible. Just terrible. Yeah.
They found out her stuff, her clothes. Like she was living in their home. Like, which I mean, what kind of jobs you have? You're not home like that. You know what I mean? Like you leave out in the morning, don't come out till God knows when. So again, you're not seeing your kid at all. Like,
yeah, this, they
that kid don't even want your food. It's trash.
And at this point now, this is where Khadijah, the daughter, reaches out about the funeral and stuff like that. And he mentioned it was hard to understand her
accent.
So I know one thing, and with Khadijah being, let's just say, second generation, and she's hard to understand, that absolutely means that it was hard for you to understand the mother. And that is just completely, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. And matter of fact, I can even add to that, because they said in the funeral how Sylvia was trying to get all her family to America, and it's clear that the two other siblings didn't, but Khadijah did. So Khadijah is sort of Americanized in her accent instead of being from the homeland, which means that, like, if Sylvia was there and was Americanized, but yet being first generation, that means it's absolutely certain that her accent was much more strong and potentially more difficult to understand. So if you couldn't understand the daughter, that means there's no way you heard anything that the mother was saying, which means that that's just how absent you were to that household and her presence, which is completely nonsense. But see, it is an issue, because that's when they started thinking about the next person. They was like, well, maybe we'll get somebody that's more metropolitan. I've never heard anybody
I was like, what does that mean? I had to look it up. I'm like, what?
Never heard nobody described as that. And then they moved to, like, it would be nice if he could learn Mandarin. Maybe we'll get a Chinese nanny. You know how hard it is to get a Chinese nanny. Jeez, man, it just wild. And then when they tried to sing a lullaby for him at night, he wasn't trying to hear whatever his mom was saying. He said, "Sing me that sweet candy, that good old tune that Sylvia be singing."
Oh my goodness.
This episode is so hilarious, folks. I enjoyed this. Anyway, they pull up to the funeral in the hood, and they got all types of concerns.
They was scared. Oh, is this the right spot?
Yeah, I can leave my car. I can get out. Are we in the right place? Like, you know, they used to the whole VIP parking in the front. He's like, nah, come around this way. And he's like, oh, okay. And like, I know what the aesthetic may give y'all, but like, it's very rich in family and in culture. They're safe there. You know, as you said, you're part of the family. Got nothing to worry about here. And they still was kind of not wanting to be immersed, even with the warm invite. So, you know, every bit of uncomfortability that they had, they served it to themselves. That's just what it is. Like, yeah, period.
I mean, you're right. I mean, their lack of knowledge is really what was the fear there. You know what I mean? Like, had they learned, like you said, a little bit more about this woman, they would have been walking in like they was invited to the barbecue. You know what I mean? Like, no problems.
Yeah. And then when Khadijah started going down the menu, they were just lost in the sauce. That was a wrap. They didn't know any of the food that she was naming. But listen, my man, Lil Bash was out here. He said, "What's up? I'm pulling up. I need all of that." You know what I mean? Yeah, get me. Don't shit me. He ready. He out here.
Extra beans. Let me get
Now the whole dynamic at the funeral was funny. You got my one man out here trying to make a sales pitch. You have
I take a job.
Yep.
So yeah, I can do that.
Yep. You got a light-skinned Jamaican. A light-skinned Trinidadian. And they tried to I think they tried to colorize him. I didn't think they think he was Trinidadian. Like they just like, where are you from? It was like, well,
yeah, I had to take a second look myself. I'm like,
and one of my good buddies is light skinned Trinidadian from Trinidad and Tobago, like purely. So like, yeah, I wasn't like I wasn't even going to turn an eye to it, but I already knew what they were going for with that one. They were just like,
yeah, kind of thick, man. You sure you from where? What was it?
Yeah, or like you don't appear to be the same shade as everybody else. So where are you from? Like, you know what I mean? So, Baby Bash out here, like also within the gospel inside of there, like,
oh yeah, he was praying with him.
He was out here.
That lets you know too, like that Sylvia was definitely, you know, teaching him the prayer every night. She was praying, you know, before he went to sleep and stuff like that. For him to have memorized it like that, you know, when they was doing the prayer, he was getting into it.
Yeah,
he's feeling that spirit.
The moment they said Sylvia was related to a Patriots player, that's the first thing that Mr. Warner was like, "Oh, we didn't even know that." That's the only thing they picked up on. That's crazy. Only thing they picked up on at the funeral. It was just completely sad. But funerals are always interesting, and I can imagine a Caribbean funeral being just as funny. I know it's very rich in culture, but like all funerals tend to want to air out laundry, and I could just feel the energy in the room where I was just like, all right, well,
yeah, you see her face the whole time, like she was stewing, like she wanted to say something. She's like,
yeah,
nah.
she didn't stand. She was not about it. And yeah, Sylvia's daughter, Princess, was not for the shits. And she went out there and she aired the laundry out, and her sort of resentment towards her mother and how she kind of left her brother hanging. Somebody took a laptop and she didn't do anything about it. And it was a world star moment at the funeral that they said that she got. Star. Yeah, he's a world star. And he's like, oh, you're scaring the white people. I died on that line. I knew it was coming.
You're like, no, it's just time to go. Yeah, and then that was the moment, like the whole moment with Princess getting up and explaining, like, you know, her mom pretty much, like, you know, she was at work, you know, so much that, you know, that was her thing. Her job was to go to work and provide for her family, to the point where she didn't even have time to see her own family. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, these other people were getting more of Sylvia. And of course, Sylvia is, you know, expanding their culture to these people, and she thinks of these children as her own. You know,
she's leaving legacy,
right?
And that's why, like, what she did impacted so many different people. It was bigger than her at all times, and it's a noble thing. You know, you gotta respect that. You know what I mean? She was selfless.
Like this, the love that clearly she's shown, and you know what I mean. Like just through the Sebastian, like they said, the other people that. You know, the white Trinidadian dude, and and that, you know, that said, you know, she raised them, and you know, she was a very loving woman, and like I said, it was more than just, you know, her being somebody's nanny. She expressed her love, you know, through them, and
yeah,
I feel like that's something that Sebastian, you know, I mean, it's not a real character, but Sebastian's going to grow up and never forget this woman ever. You know what I mean? This is always going to be a part of him going forward.
Absolutely. And even with him wanting to play with Uncle Samuel, play on the steel pan. I mean, he's fully immersed in the culture now. Like there's no turning back from that point. But yeah, at the end of this episode, they get the knocks from hell in the middle of the night, and he finally decides to open up the package. And what does he know from Picture Day from Family Day? It's a picture of Sylvia and Bash together with all of the Sadie faces, basically saying, "Well, joke's on you, buddy." And that's that. So overall, a very entertaining, fun episode. I thought it had good messages, good laughs, everything. I know, yes, we got away from the main characters and whatnot, but it was still a good episode. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this, being the 7th episode, Trini to the bone. Troy, you got any?
That song will be stuck in my head now. I never heard it before in my life. You definitely tell, like, that conversation that, like, before they went to sleep and everything, the conversation that the wife was having with her husband about, like, man, are we pieces of shit? Like, we know anything about our son? Like, you know, kind of to the point where it almost seemed like she kind of wanted to be like, okay, I wanted to step back and be more involved with Sebastian, because, like, they don't know nothing about this kid. They don't know what he likes to eat. You know what I mean? Like, you know, him walking to his class and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just kind of just drop him off and keep it moving. You know what I mean?
It was terrible.
Yeah,
terrible parents. That's all that.
And like you said, like the husband just like, well, we did everything that we're supposed to do. We showed up. No. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. They showed up, and some people think showing up is just enough. That's not parenting. So
hey, you know, we showed up. I mean, obviously, it was. At the same time, I'm not discrediting him. It was the best thing to do for him to acknowledge this woman and take his son to this funeral to give him closure. That was the best thing to do. But it's just the way they were going about it. Like, you know, mentally, like, you know, to kind of ease themselves or make themselves feel better about the situation.
Yeah, make them feel so bad. They didn't address the nature of the situation. They did it for them. They didn't do it for him. That's the issue. So, but folks, let us know your thoughts about tonight's episode, the takeaways from this episode, things we may have missed about this episode. Jump in the comments, let us know all of that. And you know what it is. We're back each and every week with another review of Atlanta. We'll see you next week, folks.
See you.